hello everyone. This is Fadi, and I want to welcome you back to a continuation of this brand new video series we have titled Muhammad, a Critique. Today we are going to take a closer look at the Islamic claims when it comes to Muhammad. Last time we gave you an overview of the biographies concerning Muhammad and how these biographies, with all basically appearance, they look like they have been embellished with time. Today we're going to take a look at the Standard Islamic Narrative when it comes to Muslims' claims concerning Muhammad the man. With us here in the studio to unpack all of this is Dr. J. Smith. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. We are talking about Muhammad. We've talked about the biographies. We're now moving into what the claims are. So let's look at the screen and let's see, what do Muslims claim concerning how Islam began? And I would say maybe this is more who Muhammad is. This is the claims they make. Now, number one, they say that the Jews and the Christians corrupted the books that they were given. And therefore, by corrupting their books, they're also corrupting the message in the books. That means the references to God. So because they were corrupted, number two, Muhammad was therefore sent to correct these corruptions, or appointed to correct these corruptions. So it was because of what we had done wrong, he had to be sent to do that. Number three, and what he was given, as all prophets are given, was a book. And between 610 and 632, starting in Mecca up to 622, and then the last 10 years in Medina, he received this book called the Qur'an. That was there to correct what had been corrupted earlier. Number four, he lived in Mecca, moved to Medina, and continued to receive these revelations over that 22-year period. Number five, the book and the story that he wrote and were set, well, he didn't write it, that he received, which was then written down during the time of Abu Bakr and then later on rewritten under the time of Uthman, has then been retained for 1,400 years. For 1,400 years, it has never changed. Not one letter, not one dot, not one word. That's the claim they make. Number six, that Mecca is still the center of the world and the center of history, while Muhammad is still the paradigm for the world, and the Qur'an is still mankind's greatest revelation. That's the claims they make. But the number seven, my question is, but what is Muhammad's story according to the Islamic tradition? What exactly is that story? Well, before we even get into that, let's look at the slide again. We need to look at this map. Here is a map. This is a Muslim map. This is not my map. This is what they say.
And people will find it everywhere, by the way.
Yeah, this is just, there are many renditions of this. Right. Take a look at that map. What they say is that Muhammad's empire was that brown area that I've just pointed to, that with the yellow arrow. That's what he ruled. That's as much as he had control of by the time he died in 632. Not very much area. The Hijaz, you can see, is that central part of the area. Now, when he died, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali then came and took over that area, the orange area that you see there, from 632 up until 661. So from Tripoli in the west all the way over to Afghanistan in the east, from Turkey in the north all the way down to Yemen in the south, was under their control. And then when, of course, Muawiyah came and killed Ali in the Battle of Siffin, then he takes over and introduces the Umayyad dynasty, which then expands its border all the way from Andalusia, which is Spain today in the west, all the way to India, Turkey to the north, Yemen to the south. All of North Africa comes under their control by 749, 750. Now, how do we know his story? Well, look at the slide here. The timeline, according to what the timeline gives us, what it says is this: Muhammad was born in 570. He then, in Mecca, he then received, or the Quran is first revealed to him in 610 in the Hijra cave. And then he is woken up in the middle of the night in 621, goes up from Mecca way up to Jerusalem, goes up to the seven heavens, receives the 50 prayers, whittles it down to 5 prayers between Moses and Allah.
Negotiations between him and Moses and Allah. Yeah.
And then finally, Moses says, oh, that's enough, and then brings it down to earth. And then in 622, he then moves from Mecca to Medina, known as the Hijra. In 630, he comes back to Mecca, walks in without any battle and takes it over, and then he dies in 632. So that's his life. That's what they tell us. Not me. That's their story, right? As soon as he dies, Abu Bakr comes to power. He only lasts 2 years, from 632 to 634. He dies peacefully. When he dies, Umar takes over. He only lasts 10 years before he is killed. And so he dies in 644. Uthman takes over. He only lasts 12 years up until 656. But while he's in power, he writes the Qur'an down in its final form, what we call the Uthmanic recension. The Qur'an is compiled in 652. He then is killed in 656.
Peacefully. He was killed peacefully, right?
No, he was killed. No, peacefully. You can't be killed peacefully if you're killed. Die peacefully, but not be killed peacefully. That's an oxymoron. And of course, obviously, another comes, and that's Ali, his adopted son, then takes over. He only lasts 5 years before he's peacefully killed as well by Muawiyah. So basically what we're saying, our conclusion is that Islam was fully formed in the Hijaz by 661.
And by the way, about Ali, you're talking about he's Muhammad's cousin. He's the son-in-law of Muhammad, among many other roles that he played as well.
Plays lots of those roles. Yeah. Okay? So now we get and we ask, well, where is the sources for everything you're seeing right there on the screen? You got to have the sources for that. So they say, okay, here are the sources. When you go back to the sources, you need to go look and see this different. Now, this should be new for many of those who watch yours and my screen, because we've gone through this. Muhammad dies in 632. They say that the first source that really records his biography is this guy right here, Ibn Ishaq. But look at his dates. Do you see a problem? 765. That's 130 years after the fact. Nonetheless, we don't have anything from him. We have to go to this guy here, Ibn Hisham, and this guy here, Al-Waqidi. Now, look at their dates. They don't actually know, they don't have anything in hand by Ibn Ishaq. They just get it from the students of Ibn Ishaq. So, bye-bye, goodbye to Ibn Ishaq. We don't need him. They are the ones that write down the first biography, but much of what Muslims follow are the hadith, the sayings. Now, let's look at the slide. Take a look and you'll see. The sayings, the hadith of Muhammad, first come to Al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, then you have Tirmidhi, then you have Majah, yeah. Then you have Dawud, and then you have Nasai.
I want to mention one thing here quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we're going to address it at some point in the future, Muwatta ibn Malik.
Hold on, we're going to get to that.
Well, I want to point to something. People are seeing it right now. It is not listed as one of the common ones.
Bingo. And why? Because it's not hadith.
Yeah.
Notice, it is a school of law. This has nothing to do with early Islam. Good thing you point that out. Yeah. Now, we have two other genres, and that's the Tafsir and the Tarikh in brown, first introduced by Al-Tabari. Can you see the problem, folks? Can you see on this timeline the difficulty? This is over 200 years and to 300 years after the fact. That's the problem. Now, I'm just going to introduce Abdul Malik, because Abdul Malik is the one that really introduces the name Muhammad. Mm-hmm. Or is it Muhammad? Hold on to that. We're going to come and confront that. But the guys who actually introduce, or the people who actually introduced the Muhammad that we're looking for, the man of Medina and Mecca, the man who receives the Quran, the man who has all these stories, are these people here, the Abbasids.
The Abbasids. And by the way, there is, even though Ibn Ishaq, it appears that he still lived during that time, there were a lot of questions about him and about his writing. And it's quite possible that they incentivize someone else to try to write an expanded one, and that's where Ibn Hisham became handy.
Okay, but I'm going to shut that one down too.
That's using the traditional approach.
So let's go back to the slide. Let's end with the last thing. So what is our conclusion from all of this? Muhammad was revealed 84 years after the Abbasids created him, 141 years after he was first introduced, yet 201 years after he supposedly lived. These are all too late. That's what they say.
And I want to mention one more thing. Al-Tabari, you listed him here, who is the first time we get like a really official body of tafsir in this case. But believe it or not, if you do studies on tafsir between Al-Tabari and Al-Qurtubi, about 300 to 400 years difference, you begin to see the tafsir starts to quote Muhammad at a later time. Initially, there were no quotations emphasized of Muhammad himself.
Isn't that interesting? That's the first time I've ever heard it. Thanks, but this is coming out in your doctorate, right?
Oh, I will be very helpful to you.
You're going to be really helpful. I'm sitting here licking my lips, because I can't wait for you to get your PhD, get your thesis out there so we can read it. So you've heard it from the man himself. It's yet to come. But just to emphasize, this is their story. Their story has problems. You can see already it's so late. It gets even worse. Okay. That's all we're going to say for now. We're going to come back in the next episode.
What are we going to do next time?
We're going to actually look and see where these guys lived.
Got it.
And then we're going to ask and compare it with Christianity.
Very good. And that's very interesting, by the way, where they live geographically speaking. Everybody, I hope you're seeing now that these are newer information, or at least newer emphasis that we are pointing to you, because our duty as academicians here to make sure that we're presenting to you the latest and the greatest by way of discoveries, but also supported with sources. So as you have seen so far, Dr. J is pointing you to sources. He's not saying this is my opinion or his opinion or someone else's opinion. And you are more than free to go and investigate those. If you're a Muslim watching this, maybe this is the first time you began to think about this, or maybe this is the first time it dawned on you that you're relying on things that were allegedly written by certain people. And even if we take this claim at face value, they were still written at a later time. But of course, later on, we're going to talk even if there are any surviving manuscripts of these alleged writings. Until next time, have a blessed day, everyone. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International, or just click on the link below.